everyone, welcome to Sew Against the Grain. My name is Mona. So I decided for my Thanks I Made It video, which is my monthly sewing recap, that I'm actually going to put 2 months together. Today is actually October 1st, so I'm going to go ahead and put August and September together into one video. So I have my notes in my lap, which I'm going to be referring to. The first thing that I completed in August is a dress using a border print fabric from Michael Miller, which has got like sailboats along the bottom, and it's got navy and white stripes on the top, which is a really fun fabric. I've had it for quite a while and I was just waiting to sew it up, and I thought just doing a really simple easy dress from Gertie's Ultimate Dress Book would be such a great use for such a fabulous fabric. Really, the fabric is the star of the dress. And I did include, instead of a facing, I did include some piping at the neckline, which I'm a big fan of. Facings are not always my favorite thing in the world, so I try and avoid them if at all possible. So for this particular boat dress, I did use piping at the neckline. I think it turned out really great. The second thing I completed in August, and I actually finished this in July, but I didn't wear it till the first time in August, so that's when I got photographs of it, is the Sewing Bee Pussy Bow Blouse, and it's from Sew Magazine. It's a free pattern. I think I found it on Pinterest initially. It's a really easy, straightforward, very oversized blouse. There's no shaping or darts or tucks or anything in it, so it's really easy to put together. The fit is really easy. It does have, and you'll see in the photographs, it does have kind of a dropped shoulder, which I'm not sure that I'm a huge fan of that look on me, but I did put it together as the instructions and pattern required, and I'll definitely wear it, and I have gotten some wear out of it, but I think if I were to make the blouse again, I would shorten the yoke pieces on the shoulder so that the actual seam sat higher on my shoulder. I think it's just a look I prefer on myself. So I made that blouse out of a blue rayon challis, which was really easy to work with. And I also included some black lace on the shoulder yokes, which I thought turned out really, really cool. So because it's a free pattern, go download it and make it. I'll include the link to the pattern in the description box below so that you can take a look and see if that's something that you'd like to make for yourself, because free patterns are pretty exciting. And then the final thing that I completed in August is a vintage shirt dress. This is from Sew Over at London. This is the second time I've made this pattern. I lengthened the front of the bodice a little bit, but otherwise I made it the same exact way that I did the first version. I am a big fan of the pattern and a big fan of the fabric. It's actually called Ravens by Timeless Treasures, and you'll see in the photographs, it's kind of this black, gray, and white kind of spooky dead tree and ravens fabric, which I thought was would make a really great shirt dress, which it did. So I included some orange buttons, which I made, which you'll see in the photograph, and then I also included some orange ribbon at the hem, and a little bit the Sew Over at Vintage shirt dress has this forward shoulder seam, so instead of sitting at the top of your shoulder, it kind of comes around to the front a little bit, which gives it this great vintage detail, and there's gathering on the front. And so I actually inserted a little bit of orange lace right into that seam so you can see it just at the very top of my shoulders, which I really like. I think it turned out great. That might be something that I do with this shirt dress moving forward. On the first one, I put a little bit of piping. On this one, I put a little bit of lace, and I really like the way that it looks. So in September, I finished 3 garments. The first one was a By Hand London Anna dress, and it's using this Game of Thrones fabrics from Joann's. I actually went to go see the Game of Thrones concert in September, so it was actually the music director for the show that tours around the country with some musicians, and he partners with local orchestras and local groups of singers to actually play the music from the show, which is really cool. And so they'll have clips of the show playing on a big screen in the background. They have some really neat visual effects. That when the dragons were a part of the show for the concert, they had these big like pyrotechnic flamethrowers in the back of the stage. They had smoke machines. They had people on pulleys that were pulled up to the ceiling to make a tree. It was just a really, really neat experience. I bought the tickets last year for my boyfriend for Christmas, so we waited 9 months for his Christmas present, and I knew that he would like it because he really loves the Game of Thrones music, and I thought that I would just enjoy it and it would be fine and he would really get a lot out of it, but I actually enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would. So I made this Game of Thrones dress to wear to that. I made my boyfriend Corbin a matching bow tie with a fabric as well, and then the pin that I'm wearing in the picture is from Dark Matter Props on Etsy, and it is a replica of the Hand of the King pin from the show. So if you've ever seen that, you should recognize that pin. And it was just a really great experience. We really enjoyed the concert. The dress turned out great. It's really comfortable. I'll definitely get a lot of wear out of it. I wore it to work the day of the concert and no one started yelling that they recognized it as Game of Thrones. So I think it's the kind of nerdy dress that I can wear in places where a nerdy dress might not be appropriate because it's not super obvious what it is unless you're familiar with the show. So the second thing that I completed in the month of September was an orange cotton voile Butterick 6563 blouse, and I put this together for a sew along for National Sewing Month in September, which you'll see linked below in the description as well. So it's the same blouse I've made the entire time. I use the same sizing. It fits really well. I'm really happy with it. I did include on this one some bat embroidery on the pocket. So you'll see that there's some black bats that are on the pocket. So it's got kind of this spooky Halloween vibe, but it's also something that I'll get a ton of wear out of because I love bats all year round. And then the final thing that I sewed in September was actually for the Sewing the Scene challenge on Instagram. And the idea behind the challenge is that you replicate an outfit. I don't know if replicate's the right word, but you want to create an everyday garment based on an outfit from a TV show or a movie or somehow on video. And I participated last year and had a really great experience. Over this year, I took one of the swirl dresses that Ethel Mertz wears in I Love Lucy. She has a lot of swirl dresses that she wears in the show, but one of them is my absolute favorite, and it's kind of like this royal blue, and it's got this white arrow detail on the neckline and the pocket. And I'll include a picture of Ethel's dress, which was the inspiration, and then also the dress that I created to look like it. So what I did is I took the By Hand London Anna bodice and I made it into a wrap back. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about how I modified the pattern to be a wrap back, or a swirl dress wannabe is what I like to call it, in a different video where I talk about how to make it look vintage. But for this particular one, I basically just traced out the entire back, so both sides. I took out the seam allowance onto a piece of paper and I just kind of drew a line down. I added some seam allowances, I had some overlap for the button, and I'll include a picture of what the back looks like. And I would do it a little bit differently next time because I think there was too much overlap where the button is. I'm also not a huge fan of ties on wrap dresses, which is strange because that's like a fundamental part of a wrap dress, but I actually prefer to have buttons or some other kind of closure on wrap dresses. So I definitely want to do it again because I think it was a really easy modification and makes the dress pretty easy to wear other than the ties. But what I'll do next time is I'll include the button at the top and then include 2 buttons at the side in the waistline instead of ties, and I think that I'll like that a lot more, and it'll be just easier to put on because the ties were kind of a pain in the butt. But I am super happy with the way the dress turned out. I actually made all the white arrow detail using some single fold bias tape. So I basically just pinned it on my dress form. I pinned it like crazy, and then I took it off of the dress form and pinned onto the bodice of the dress. I just steamed the crap out of it with my iron, and I eased it a ton when I was sewing it on, and it actually worked out easier than I thought it would. I wasn't 100% sure that the bias tape was going to do the trick, but it did, and it turned out really well. So I'm super happy with it. I'll get a ton of wear out of it, and I think I've learned a couple of lessons about how I want the wrap back to fit a little bit better. So when I get ready to do do the swirl dress video for Make It Look Vintage, what I'll do is I'll walk everybody through how to adjust any pattern that fits you well. I personally liked the Anna dress for the kimono sleeves because it was exactly what Ethel's dress was in the show. But you could really do it with any pattern, but I'll walk you through how to adjust a regular pattern that fits you well to change the back bodice to be a wrap so that you can make your own swirl dress. So I'm gonna do a couple of modifications and then I'll do that video, which is really exciting. But I love this dress and I love everybody's entries for sewing the scene. If you look at the hashtag sewing the scene 18, that's everybody's kind of final entries for this year's challenge, and they're just a beautiful collection. People are so creative and so authentic. They're able to replicate the most complex outfits in really just such an amazing way. So it's really a very, very neat challenge. I really enjoyed it last year. I really enjoyed it this year. So I'm really glad that I had a chance to participate again. So that's what I sewed for August and September. Hopefully you enjoyed this video and are looking forward to the swirl dress Make It Look Vintage video that I'll have coming up when I work on that one, and that you've had a chance to look at the sew along video for Butter X65 63. And if you have questions, let me know. It's October 1st today, so I'm really excited that it's finally cooling down a little bit in Arizona. It's been in the like 90s, which is much cooler than it's been recently. We got a ton of rain last night, so I'm really excited for the change in weather. I hope you all are enjoying your day and that you'll get a lot of really good sewing done. And please let me know if you have any questions, and I look forward to hearing from everyone. Thanks. Bye.